Hey everybody, welcome back. This is Tom and this is part 3 of creating a web server using Python and Flask. Now in this video we're going to create a very basic server and you're just going to end up printing a few things out to your browser and that's it. Okay, so how do we do that? Well, in the last lesson we created this virtual environment and what you're going to see is that I have this file called app.py and that is in this folder called demo. So demo, I put it in the same place here. Yours doesn't have to be, but I like to keep everything together. Okay, so I'm gonna go back into demo here. Go ahead and clear that. And over here in this file, I'm going to, from the Flask library that I installed earlier, I'm going to import the Flask class. So the class is going to help me be able to create an object, which I'm going to call app. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pass in a variable called name. So name, if you're not familiar with this, this is a very particular Python thing. If you've coded in C or Java, you'll know, or many other languages really, you know that there is almost always there's always a function called main from which you start the program. Now, in Python, there is no main function. You don't start in any particular place. You start at the beginning of whatever file you run. And if I come over here and I run app.py, you'll see that it runs, nothing really happens. If I were to print out name here, it would be main, because when I run this app.py, this file is the main file for the program, and it is then given this name here. So I run this, whatever you put here gets assigned to be main. Now, if I had other files in this project, they would have different names. They wouldn't be main, they would be something else. Okay, but this is the file I'm running, so it is defined as main. It's just like a little weird workaround in Python to define something that is essentially your main function in this case. Now, you probably, if you've been programming in Python long enough and you ever looked online and tried to get help, you'll have seen this before. If name is equal to main, then run this stuff. If name's not equal to main, then it's not going to run that stuff. So if I have other files over here, they will not be main. Only this one, this app.py, will be main. So that stuff won't run in it. And if you want to know the reasoning why, I recommend do a little research on your own. It has to do with when you import files and things like tests and stuff like that. If you want to make sure your program is not running a bunch of random scripts that you don't want it to, and instead just using the functions and classes from that file, then you need to have this. Okay? All right, so this whole thing, just make sure it's in there and everything will work well from this point on. Okay, and get in the habit of using it anyways. All right, so app.run, and this, we're going to use their app object here, and we're going to do .run, and when we do this, that is going to start up our server. Pretty much that's what creates our web server. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to run this, and what you're going to see is that I have an environment that is a development environment. It's serving the Flask app, it's running, everything is working just fine. When you started up yours, it very likely did not start up with development. And the reason is because there is a special variable that I created called Flask env. Now, if I come back and I type production here, and let's say I run this again, this is going to say production. That's probably what yours started as. Since I had mine set up earlier, it started as development mode. And I want to show you the differences between these two environment modes. If we're in production, you're going to see mostly the same thing, but there are a few problems with it. Okay, so I'll show you here that for right now, if I run this, you get URL not found and doesn't do anything. Okay, if I come back here and I change this to development and I run this again, I reset this, I go like this, and you'll see pretty much everything is the same. It tries to get the file, both of them give me 404 errors. So let's make our server do something, and then you're really going to be able to see the difference between these. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to reset this as production mode, which is probably what you have right now. And I'm going to go ahead and add something called a route. And this is how we make the server actually do stuff. So we use this little, the @ sign and app. This is called a decorator. If you want to know more about decorators, please go ahead and do some research. It's just something in this case which is going to help us attach this route to this function. And I'm going to call this function home. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to return this is I'll say this is my home page. Okay. Every route must return something, and in our case we're going to return a string. So returning this, we're good to go. All right, over here I am, instead of using Python app.py, I'm going to do this the Flask way, the correct way. I'm going to write Flask Run, and it's going to say the environment is production this time. All right, so this is where the difference comes in. If I'm running in production, I run this, it does everything, we're good, right? It says this is my home page. It tries to get the, it goes to the route. So the route is slash in this case, and it's successful. It actually gets the page, well, really just a string. But let's say I change this to an exclamation point, I save, and I come back here and I refresh. You'll notice that it hasn't actually changed anything. This is still a period, not an exclamation point. And that's what one of the big difference in the production server versus the development server is that the production server, once it's running, does not let you update your files and you can't see those changes. What you have to actually do is restart the server and then come back over here and refresh it to get the change. That's really annoying. So that is why we have the development server. So if I come back in and I export Flask env as development, and this right here, this environment variable, this variable that's attached to this current terminal window, okay, it is something that Flask looks for when you do Flask Run, or whenever the Flask server starts. Okay, so now if I run this Flask Run, you'll see it says development, and we're good to go. If you're on Windows, you're going to have to probably look around, but I think it is probably the same export Flask env development. I think that works the same. I'm not 100% sure. All right, so if I come back over here and I refresh this, you're going to see that it's doing the right thing. But this is the cool thing about the development server, is if I come back here, I change this back to a period and I save it. The server over here will automatically restart, and when I refresh my page, it will show the difference here. It shows the change that I've made. So I don't have to Control-C, kill the server, restart the server every time. So make sure you're running in the environment as development so everything refreshes. All right, so let's do one last little thing here. We're just gonna add one more route. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna copy this, and I'm gonna change this to be home 2, and this can be home 1, and I'm going to change this to home up here. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll make this one the exclamation point one, and this one's going to be just nothing. Okay, or just, well, sorry, just a period there. So if I come in here and I run this, we get the one with the period, but if I do /home, you notice it will give me the one with the exclamation point. So what this is doing is it's routing my application. If I do /home, it goes there. If I do just a slash, it goes here. All right. Okay. That's basically it for creating a basic server. You should know how to create routes now. In the next lesson, we're going to expand a bit on this and do some new stuff. So go ahead and if you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. I'll try to get back to them. All right. Thanks for watching.